And then I proceeded to give him 30 minutes of non-stop content about my intimate life with my boyfriend.
Okay, I just, is this real? I don't know, is this true?
And he said, yeah, and you know, she just is so attractive that I have to smash her mate before every session.
No way. No way is a dude saying this on a date. That's not happening. She's telling the therapist tall tales about the psychiatrist, and then she's telling the psychiatrist tall tales about the therapist.
So while I was mid-crash out, I had just started using this tool, ChatGPT. And I went to Chat, who I immediately named Henry. And
oh, wait, what? Hold up.
I have seen a lot of Black women on this app with the same take, and I need to say that Black women are the most important people on the planet.
Oh yes, let's go. We got some white racial guilt talking about Black women being important. Oh my God, dude.
A couple weeks ago, on the full moon, when I was ovulating, I had a dream about you.
Oh!
And he was like, oh yeah?
Guys, this is I Fell in Love with My Psychiatrist, the complete TikTok series. Let's find out what's going on.
With my psychiatrist, and he knew, and he kept me until I had the strength to leave after 4 years. Here it is, part 1. So I decided to go back on ADHD meds after many years of being off of them. I was on them in my early 20s to help me get through college, and then I went off of them because they just weren't, like, the side effects were too much over the benefits. But then in my late 20s, I read this book, Taking Charge of Adult ADHD, and it absolutely changed my life. For my fellow ADHDers, there's so many good things in here, and the biggest thing that I took away was that it's very important for ADHDers to be on meds. So I decided to make an appointment with a psychiatrist. I just Googled psychiatry in the city that I lived in, and I went with the first one that came up, and I got an appointment within a month. And then I booked a 90-minute intake, and I show up to the intake, and this man is my age, and I can't help but notice that he's pretty attractive.
Right. So this has already taken, thank you very much for the super chat. This has already taken a rough turn, isn't it? So you turn up to see the psychiatrist, you find him attractive, and I'm guessing you falling for him is somehow going to be his fault, even though he probably, I'm guessing, didn't really do anything wrong.
This psychiatrist, and he kept me anyway, part 2. So in this intake, you know, I kind of clocked that he was attractive in my age, but when I tell you that I've had a lot of couch time in my life, a lot of therapy.
Okay, that does, to be honest with you, that doesn't really surprise me. That does not surprise me looking at you.
You know, I just went right into it. I trusted him enough, of course, why wouldn't I, to tell him about my childhood trauma, my daddy issues, if you will.
Whoa!
What I had went through, all of the relationship trauma that I had. I was 6 months sober at this time, but like all of the drinking and substance use I used to do. And he just listened and nodded. And that's the thing about psychiatrists, is that they're good at pretending to listen. They can appear connected, but that doesn't mean that they're always connected.
Right. Thank you for the Twitch sub. Okay, I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, I don't expect psychiatrists to do anything beyond that. Like, obviously, they're probably going to do their job and listen to you and help you in whatever way they can. But, I mean, I don't, like, you know, it seems like what it comes across like is, yeah, you're just kind of dumping everything on him very quickly. When the point is, you obviously, over a period of time, talk about your issues and try and find some sort of mental help or something like that, you know? So she's giving this kind of odd energy, being attracted to the psychiatrist straight away, dumping out all this shit. I mean, I don't know, man. It's a bit bizarre so far, but let's see how this spins out.
So I just felt really seen. And I also told him, I was like, look, I don't want to be on stimulant meds. So he listened to me and he put me on the non-stimulant ADHD med at the lowest dose just to figure out if it was going to work for me. Part 3.
So I hadn't ever seen a psychiatrist before. When I was on meds in my early 20s, I only got meds from my primary care physician. So I didn't understand how psychiatry works. So because he was figuring out my med dose, I saw him every month, and he just made me feel like I was his friend. He was really, really funny and cracked jokes, and told me he was impressed with my running that I would do. And yeah, so of course I loved the attention that I got from him.
Okay, unless there's going to be a big surprise here. This just kind of sounds like he's just doing his job. Like he's just being nice and saying the right things to, like, be nice to you so you don't do... I don't know, dude. I don't know how to do psychiatry, obviously. But I would assume that this is just about, like, being positive about the positive things you're doing in your life.
And it was in my third session with him, because at this point we were all on Zoom, that I asked him, I said, hey, do you mind if I call you by your first name? And he's Pakistani.
Okay, dude. Codex is probably gutted that he got timed out for 24 hours, because that would have perked his little racist ears right up, wouldn't it? Dude. He'd have bloody loved that. He'd have bloody loved that.
So I said his first name wrong, and he said, well, it's pronounced this, but yes, of course you can. And he seemed so smug and happy with himself. And I know that that is because that was his first sign that him pretending like we're friends was working. And to be fair to me, I had only ever been to therapy before. I didn't realize that, you know, it's important to call your doctor last name.
Well, I mean, again, it's probably just a way of trying to make you comfortable with what is likely a kind of traumatic and frustrating, like, experience, potentially. Right?
I mean, I did know that. I did it with all my other doctors, but it just showed that the boundaries were blurring, and he liked that. So from then on, from my third session on, I started calling him his first name. And then he just started turning up the volume on us being friendly. And he would ask me, for the first 6 sessions, he asked me, after the meds, he said, how's your bowels, bladder, and appetite? And I would say they're all normal. And then he would ask me any thoughts of harm. And apparently that's pretty common for psychiatry to ask those questions. And then on our 6th session, when things were really, you know, the chemistry was starting to be there before, like, I didn't realize it. I was like, oh, this man is just friendly. And he said, I have to ask.
Bro, how are you shitting? How are you shitting? Dude, I'm sorry. Anyone that was fucking dismissive of this is a total retard. This is fucking brilliant content. This is, I mean, it's not an exact allegation because we don't know the person. But this is like crazed bullshit allegation territory. This guy's asking how you're shitting. And she's thinking, oh, he must really like me. He is just doing his job. He's doing the most normal shit of a psychiatrist.
Ask this because it's a special interest of mine. But is there any thoughts of harm? Like, I was special to him. And I said, no thoughts of harm. And he didn't ever
also, Pakistani psychiatrist asking how she's shitting. Dude. Oh my good God. The jokes write themselves.
Me a clinical question again. He stopped asking me about my bladder, bowels, and appetite, and he stopped asking me about thoughts of harm. So to me, I would just show up and he was like a therapy appointment every month.
So I was seeing him every month and just gaining more and more respect for him because he would just tell me these little things about his successes and all of the cool things that he was doing in his life. And it made me fall for him, honestly. And he was really good at listening. And I mean, he's a Pisces, right? So...
Oh, he's a Pisces. No way she went there. No way she went there. He's a Pisces. I don't believe it.
Well, of course he's going to be there and be able to go deep with my feelings, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't extracting from them. Anyway, so I would beg him to let me see him every week. Beg him, because my therapist at the time, he was fine. You know, he wasn't a predator, but he was fine. He just wasn't doing very much for me. And so that therapist retired and I got a new therapist. And this new therapist, who is a 75-year-old woman with a PhD, she was pretty helpful. So I stopped asking my psychiatrist, begging, honestly, to be my therapist and let me see him more, right? Which also should have been a red flag. But then I started focusing on this therapist. However, I would tell the therapist how obsessed I was with my psychiatrist, and she didn't do anything about it.
What is she supposed to do? Like, you're the one that's got this obsession. You're the one that's gone crazy for this psychiatrist who, on the sounds of it, was just doing his job. What the fuck is she supposed to do? I mean, if anything, she should probably be telling you, yeah, this isn't healthy for you to be obsessed with someone who's just trying to do their job. This woman is just crazed. She's got a crazed energy about her.
She just was interested. She also loved stories about my dating life, and yeah, she also was getting supply from me in her own way, but that's for another part. So yes, so I got a new therapist who actually helped me. She taught me CBT, EFT, all of these different modalities. And so I went back to just being okay with seeing Irfan once a month while he was giving me these little breadcrumbs of making me feel special, telling me about his professional achievements, telling me about how he's getting international recognition. And it worked. I was really impressed.
I just don't know enough about psychiatry to know if that's normal. I mean, it doesn't sound that crazy to me that he might share parts of his professional stuff if she was asking about it. Name, profession, race, and city. Yeah, is there enough to... Is that like maybe a small docs, maybe? Possibly. They're not supposed to share personal info. Maybe a bit over the line. Maybe a bit over the line. Oh, he is doxed. Right, of course. It's TikTok, so of course he's doxed. Right, so this is crazed allegation territory then. So this woman is banging on about this fella, saying all this shit about him, none of which we know is true, it's just her saying it. And he's been doxed and is getting shit now. Dr. Anna, YouTuber, went over the situation. It's all very standard shit. I mean, you know, what I imagine's happening is he probably is saying things that I would presume are probably within the realms of what's normal. And I think she is viewing it in a certain way because she's got this obsession with the guy. And she's perceiving it and interpreting it and talking about it in this excessive way because she thinks of it as more than it truly is. It's probably quite customary, normal stuff. And she's like, oh my God, he's telling me this. And it must mean this. And it must mean this. And it must mean this. And it's like, well, no, it doesn't. It just means he's saying shit that's fairly standard and you're overthinking it.
See me weekly. And that is when the intermittent reinforcement started. Some sessions he'd be warm and kind and wonderful and let me in on little parts of his life.
Drop his name. Oh
and like be vulnerable with me or pretend. Other sessions, he would be cold and clinical and detached. And you know what that did? It made me work harder in our next sessions. It did. And it started the addiction that I had to him. 100%. And he knew exactly what he was doing. This man gives lectures on trauma and attachment theory. He used his psychiatric training to manipulate me and get me hooked. And guess what? It worked. In January of 2024, I was hit by a car turning left as I was going through a green light. And it was the night before my next appointment with my psychiatrist. So I was like, okay, I'll still be able to go to my appointment on Zoom.
Money off depressed that's people. Wonderful. But how do I make money?
Whoa! Okay, let's start again. Sorry about that. Let me just replay these real quick. Thank you, DK, for the $10.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
Chud of little faith. The nice Taco Bell cashier is totally into me. She totally just isn't doing her job. I'm totally not gonna get arrested and trespassed from Taco Bell for harassment. Wow.
Exactly. Thank you for the super chats. And Therapist said this.
Welcome to Chud Nation.
Glad you're okay, Chuddy buddy.
Oh,
you're missing
Pilkington.
a hat for your hat, though.
Thank you. That wasn't that. That was Pilkington. Thank
wonderful.
you for the Prime sub.
How do I make
This is what
money
Therapist
off
said.
depressed people?
Chud, look at those fucking glasses, mate. thicker than a bank vault. Literal fucking crazy bitch.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you for the tip.
I'm okay. But I did make an appointment with an urgent care the next day.
Bro, dude, this meme is a bit tired at this point. I get it. But is this not like a reverse the roles type moment? Imagine if a fella was banging on about, oh yeah, I spoke to this woman and she was really into me and blah, blah, blah. They'd be called some like crazed stalking person. But because this is, I mean, we are calling her a crazed stalker, to be fair. But I think on TikTok, it's kind of normalized this kind of like allegation coming forward. So it's not really that surprising that the guy's been like apparently doxing is getting shit. DK's told me that. I've not seen it myself. But yeah, apparently he's been like getting loads of shit over this. Off the back of a obviously deranged mentally ill woman saying a bunch of unverified shit about him.
Day just to get checked out. I had bruising on my abdomen and a perforated eardrum. And the provider at the urgent care...
Well, the feminists are probably going after the doctor guy, and the misogynists are probably going after the woman.
Said, I do not feel comfortable treating you. You need to seek emergency care now. You may be internally bleeding. But it was 11 o'clock in the morning, and my appointment with my psychiatrist was at 2. So I decided that I was going to wait so I could see my psychiatrist and not have to reschedule because I was...
Huh? This woman needed emergency care, and she decided to wait to see the psychiatrist. That's fucking nuts, bro. Yeah, also, this is probably true as well. I don't think he can even defend himself because of doctor-client privilege. Yeah. I think that's true. I think you're probably right. I think he probably can't say a thing about this and it's got to keep stum.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Right?
But how do I make money off depressed people?
Man, she really wanted that psychoanalysis, didn't she?
Indeed. Thank you, Krabby Post, for the super chats.
I was looking forward to my appointment with him so much. I look back at that time and I'm just like, oh my God, I put my own life under seeing him. I was fully addicted to him at this point. And you know what happened?
Whose fault is that? That's your fault. You've got this fucking weird obsession with the guy.
Happened is that I showed up and I told him that I may be internally bleeding, and he didn't stop the appointment. He didn't say, you need to take care of yourself, go get emergency care now. He let me continue and just tell him about how much I loved him. And
that does, okay. I find it very hard to believe that a psychiatrist, upon learning that someone might be internally bleeding, wouldn't say, well, we can't have the appointment, you need to go to the hospital. That I find that really hard to fucking believe. So either she didn't tell him about it, or like, I don't believe that. I just don't, I flat don't believe that. There's no fucking way a professional doctor, psychiatrist would say, oh yeah, let's just have a chat. Or he thought she was bullshitting or something and thought it was part of a mental delusion and wanted to help her. I don't fucking know. But I do not believe that a psychiatrist would hear that, believe it to be true, and not insist that she seek urgent care immediately.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
It's also not recommended that the doctor drop the patient BC of psychological issues that can cause with rejection.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money?
Thank you,
off
Jojo,
depressed
for the super
people?
chat. And
You
thank
know
you, Sender
what?
Ender.
I don't care if my lung is punctured and my spine is bleeding. I want my future hubby to whisper sweet nothings in my ear while I gush.
Indeed. Thank you for the super chats.
how grateful I was for him, because that was really what most of our appointments were, is me just like pouring myself out, because he was so good at the intermittent reinforcement. Yeah, I got some warmth from him that appointment. So that was January 2023. And I also told my therapist about this. She said nothing. See him, that's when he really started turning up the intimacy in our appointments. However, he was really smart and knew the professional lines like the back of his hand.
Right.
So he would comment on my appearance, but not compliment my appearance. So I would come on screen and he would say, "Oh, you curled your hair."
Dude, this is... I mean, I don't think a psychiatrist should be saying shit like that. But again, I'm just questioning whether it really happened. Well, it depends what it is and what the tone is, I guess. It depends what the tone is. I don't know. I need to see it. I need to see if it was like... flirtatious or if it's just commenting or something. I don't know.
Or I would come on screen and he would say, "Oh, you're wearing glasses." And of course I felt seen and excited that he was noticing these things about me. I didn't realize at this time that he had feelings for me too. I thought I was holding them all by myself. So I was so excited when he noticed my glasses that I ran and showed him my other pair. And he said, "I prefer turtle shell glasses." So even though I usually wear contacts, I'm wearing these turtle shell glasses in these videos because just in case he sees them ever, he'll see me in his favorite glasses. He did tell me he likes them.
Is it just rapport building maybe? If it is true, is it just like being friendly to build a rapport to better psychiatrize? Whatever the word is. I don't know. Like, we've got to interpret this all through her obsession. So it becomes very difficult for us to, truly understand what's happening there. Because she's obviously presenting it in an extremely egregious way, where it could just be standard friendly small talk to build rapport to better help treat the person, you know? Like, it makes sense that a psychiatrist is going to be, like, fairly nice and not just be, cold and clinical all the time.
The turtle shell. Anyway, it was just inappropriate things like that. Little teeny things that he let me in. And all this time, my best friend is an emergency medicine physician. And she told me, she said, "Kendra, one of these days, your psychiatrist," she would use his name, "is going to say, 'I can't be your doctor anymore.'"
Hygiene or taking care of yourself. Normal to ask about or comment on.
Thank you for the super chat.
I want to be with you. I want to be with you so bad. I can't be your doctor. I'll see you in 2 years. So my best friend, who's a doctor, she picks up on stuff like that. So
right.
Even she knew that our relationship was crossing boundaries and getting weird. But that became my dream, was for my psychiatrist, I almost use his name, to do that. And I told him about Brianna saying that, my best friend, who's the emergency medical doc. I told him that she would tell me that, and he just would be silent. He didn't disagree, but he didn't agree. And that was weaponized neutrality was his favorite game to play, right? He didn't disagree with Brianna telling me that my psychiatrist had feelings for me, but he also didn't say that's inappropriate. Let's change the subject. It was also around this time that I asked my psychiatrist if he had diagnosed me with anything other than ADHD when I had my initial diagnosis. And he said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "Oh, what did you diagnose me with?" And he said, "Well, you had a lot of traumatic things happen to you in childhood because of your dad, and so I diagnosed you with other trauma and stressor related disorder." And that was the first little ping that I got of like,
by the way, there's some level of me that is like, well, this person has clearly got a lot of issues and needs, like, support and help. Like, if she could get support and help, good luck to her. It's the fact that she's now publicizing this deranged allegation against a guy who is now apparently getting shit. And it's just so unreasonable that a guy whose profession is just being a psychiatrist, and that, from what I can see, I don't really think he's done anything wrong. Is, yeah. Okay, right, listen, you're getting banned.
That was weird. Why would he keep that from me?
Use your brain.
I asked him, why wouldn't he tell me that? That seems important. He didn't tell me because he was using that information to manipulate me. He knew I had trauma and stressor disorder, and instead of helping me heal from it and telling me about it, he used it against me. January 2023, at this point, I was full-blown obsessed with my psychiatrist, and my therapist wasn't helping me, my psychiatrist wasn't helping me, he was feeding it. And then I got a boyfriend, and at first my psychiatrist wasn't really that keen, but then my psychiatrist realized that my boyfriend was a lot like my psychiatrist. And then I started talking to my psychiatrist about my sex life, about tracking my cycle, using the fertility awareness method. And my psychiatrist loved it. He didn't ever say, "This isn't inappropriate to your care, let's pivot." Oh, he just let me talk and talk and talk about my sex life.
I mean, again, questioning how true this is. And on top of that as well, just kind of questioning whether or not, if it is true, whether that's something a psychiatrist might need to know about or be part of your care. I mean, if it's something relevant to your mental stuff, maybe it might be relevant for your psychiatrist to listen about. Like, what, you think the psychiatrist is trying to track your cycle so he knows when to have sex with you? It just seems bizarre to think that there's anything particularly egregious about this.
And I didn't get too deep.
Yeah, exactly. If it's important to you and you feel you need to talk about it, then why wouldn't he listen? Yeah, exactly.
But about a year and a half in
cognitive behavioral therapy, shrinks do tend to just let you run on about whatever the fuck you want to talk about because it reveals other stuff about what's going on in your head at the time. I see, okay.
And I would send my psychiatrist these emails just about how much I liked him and how I was so grateful for him and put in a bunch of heart emojis. And this is really when he should have transferred my care, but you know, he waited. He liked what I gave him too much. And so even though my boyfriend did not meet my needs, my psychiatrist and my therapist both were like, you have to stay with him. There's nothing wrong with him not meeting your needs. I'm like, okay. And my psychiatrist was like, he's perfect. Don't get wrong with him. And what was perfect about him was he wasn't meeting my needs. So I was still coming to my psychiatrist looking for emotional validation, which he would drip to me slowly. So my therapist, who I didn't know at this time had bad boundaries, but she did, I went to her because my boyfriend and I, after like more than a year...
Also, so we've now got this psychiatrist that apparently is doing some terrible stuff. And also your therapist has also got bad boundaries. Like, obviously it's just two people, but maybe the common denominator is you. Maybe you're the problem in this. If you've got two different, you know, mental health professionals that are engaging with you, and both of them have got these differing issues. Maybe you're the problem. Maybe it's something to do with you.
Year together, we started having issues in the bedroom. And so I went to my therapist and she asked me, what does your psychiatrist think about this? And I said, I don't know. I haven't talked to my psychiatrist about this stuff because I have a crush on my psychiatrist and I don't want to tell him this intimate of stuff. And she said, well, you should tell him because I want a male's perspective. So at my next appointment with my psychiatrist, I told him, I said, today we're going to talk about my intimate life. And he said, oh. I said, yes. My psychologist, my therapist, asked what your opinion on it was. And I told her that I don't talk to you about this intimate stuff because I have a crush on you. And he looked down and smiled so big in that moment. He smiled so big. And I loved it. It's so gross thinking about it. And then I proceeded to give him 30 minutes of non-stop content about my intimate life with my boyfriend.
Okay, I just... Is this real? I don't know. Is this true? How would a psychiatrist act if you told them that? Also, the idea is content, man. It's like sick. It's sicko shit, bro. Huge mistake if he's Pakistani. What would a psychiatrist do? What's the manual for this? What's the manual for if a patient says, I've got a crush on you? I would presume instinctively it would be that you've got to say, that's not something I can really get into. I shouldn't see you anymore if that's the case or something. Or would it be used as an effort to try and psychiatrize further? Like, I literally don't know.
And I actually recorded the whole thing because I was so excited about it. But now it makes me sick. I can't even listen to the recording. I've tried to start, but it's gross. Any ethical psychiatrist would have stopped me and said, Kendra, let's talk about your meds. Let's talk about your care. At this point, my meds were stable.
She's an unreliable narrator, so take what she says about the others reacting with a grain of salt. Oh yeah, I'm taking it with a big grain of salt. I am, like, extremely skeptical of, like, all the claims she's making here. And obviously a lot of it's being provided without evidence. So it's like, we've literally just got her word on it. And she comes across as a very deranged individual.
And I was still seeing him every month. Yeah, that was a rough time. And it was pretty much his Christmas morning, the almost 2.5 years of grooming me to get me to talk about sexual things with him worked. And
when a patient is unbalanced, you do have like longer sessions and check-ins, but this is like unprecedented for just ADHD. She clearly presented as insane. Oh, I see. So basically, she's claiming it was for ADHD. She's claiming it's for ADHD. It's probably for something worse than that. She's not telling us. And so the psychiatrist is handling it in a way as if she's like insane or like got some severe mental health problem. But because it sounds, yeah, is that maybe what it is?
That was and
okay,
I was
what's
still
this?
seeing him every month. Yeah, that was a rough time, and it was pretty much his Christmas morning, the almost 2.5 years of grooming me to get me to talk about sexual things with him.
Grooming. Also, that's another good point as well. Do you see a psychiatrist for ADHD? That seems a bit excessive, doesn't it? Grooming is a wild claim. I mean, that is like fucking, you know, X to doubt, evidence needed. Evidence needed. I'm going to need to see some pretty serious evidence that the psychiatrist was grooming you. That sounds fucking insane.
Worked. And he got 30 minutes of nonstop content to use. Things. One.
30 minutes of non-stop content to use? For what? Jerking off? Oh, you might see a psychiatrist for meds. Okay. Maybe. Yeah, okay.
People are asking me what my mental health diagnosis is. I do not have BPD. I do not have psychosis. I have ADHD. And I was experiencing extreme...
With ADHD, it's an appointment for 15 to 30 minutes every 3 months. Right, because it's quite cursory. It's not meant to be like an in-depth thing. It's just, you know, are the meds working? Is everything okay? Right, here's another prescription for the next 3 months, I would guess. Whereas these are a lot more regular. These are like a lot more regular and more indicative of a more serious mental health condition, right?
Limerence with my psychiatrist. Limerence is a normal thing to happen to anyone who is experiencing hot and cold behavior from someone. And it happens more often in people with ADHD because we have dopamine dysregulation and rejection sensitive dysphoria. And guess what? My psychiatrist knew that and used it to his advantage. 2, I accidentally said my psychiatrist's first name in one of my videos.
Accidentally? Do we think it was accidental? Do we think it's accidental? I don't know, man. Not sure about that one.
If you clocked it, good for you. I do not owe him anonymity. However, this is not about...
I do not owe him anonymity. What a fucking crazy concept. You're saying all this shit about this guy, totally unverified, and you're happy for him to just be identified. What? And then he's getting shit as part... Dude... This guy can't defend himself. He cannot defend himself, I'm pretty sure, because of this patient-doctor confidentiality shit. So you're basically completely smearing this guy, and he's completely unable to defend himself. And you're doing it with no evidence. And the TikTok morons all fucking believe you. This is so fucking wrong. It's so obviously wrong. Yes, it's to confirm the medical side of it. I have long-term medication and see my doctor quarterly. It's literally just any side effects, how are you feeling, is the dosage all right, are we still having desired relief, and adjustments, new meds, referral to another specialist if needed. Right, okay.
Doxing my psychiatrist. This is about me sharing my story so other people can view predatory behavior in people in power. Okay? If anyone doxes my psychiatrist with his last name or city that he works in or clinic that he works in, your comment will be immediately deleted and you will be blocked. This is about protecting other victims, not doxing my psychiatrist. If you do some investigative work and you want to DM me about it, I'm open to that. Okay? 3.
Okay, well, maybe you should just show some evidence of any of this. Where's the fucking evidence of any of what you're saying? This is insane. It is crazy. It is fucking crazy.
3. I need to take a moment. Moment taken. It is so incredibly disturbing to me, the amount of people that are predator protectors in my comments.
Oh, what? Yes, dude. Yes. Dude, I'm telling you. This is crazed allegation territory. This is Scammer payback
Okay,
level.
that's wonderful.
This is
But how
fucking
do I make
banging.
money off depressed people?
Looks like Dory from Nemo.
Thank you for the super chat. He's a predator now, apparently. I think she said it earlier. He's a predator. How is he a predator, bro?
Are victim blaming me, especially the mental health practitioners in my comments using therapy speak to say that this situation that I was in was my fault or that I was delusional. Check yourself.
Whoa!
You're giving me more ammunition to share my story because it just goes to
Let's go. She is off the rail. She is unchained. Let's go. Did someone say a professionals? I'd be interested to see if there's like a well-regarded professional that's weighed in on this situation and watch it after this. Just because I am obviously a layman in all of this. And I'd be interested to see like a professional's take on what's happening here. Because a lot of it is like, maybe some of that's a bit off, but like on the whole, it sounds like they're just trying to psychiatrize you correctly.
to show how absolutely messed up the mental health industry is and how protected people who do this kind of sick psychological manipulation are. So I will continue with my story. Welcome back to another installment of I Was in Love with My Psychiatrist and He Kept Me Anyway, Part 8. You all did some nasty work last night, and I had to turn off comments. People started posting my psychiatrist's first and last name, his picture in the comments. That was a jump scare.
Yeah, because you revealed enough information about him that, dude, it's TikTok, man. You could reveal, like, dude, TikTok is Doc City. I don't, like, obviously, you got to be very careful to make sure that you don't give enough information out that the fucking deranged wine mums of TikTok go on a fucking doxing spree. Yeah, who could have foreseen this? Who could have foreseen this happening? And I think, yeah, there's an argument it was her, like she did it on purpose. Like not taking any responsibility for a part, exactly.
So, yeah, a few bad actors who wanted to be super sleuths got the privilege of commenting, mostly hate, let's be real, taken away for everyone. So at this point in the story, there are two main players. My psychiatrist, who's my age, who crossed major ethical boundaries, and my therapist, who is a 75-year-old woman with a PhD. Neither of these people, at this point in the story, I knew were crossing boundaries. I thought that everything was hunky-dory and that I was just in love with my psychiatrist and it was totally normal. Little did I know he was manufacturing everything so I could fall in love with him. Because it was on him to set the professional boundary and not let attention build. So days after my psychiatrist's Christmas morning appointment from a few videos back where he got a crush confession from me and then 30 minutes of non-stop intimate content that he did not stop me.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I'm like, instinctively, I would have thought that a psychiatrist would be like, you need to speak to someone else. I don't know. But then maybe a woman. But then if she's got a problem with a therapist too, maybe she just is bad at interacting with mental health professionals and the psychiatrist is just trying to do the best he can with the situation. Maybe it is right that he stays with her because there's a connection there and it can at least try and help in some way. Or she's lying, obviously. But I just don't believe that this psychiatrist was sat there collecting goon fuel off of this woman. That sounds absolutely fucking outrageous to me. There's no way. There's no fucking way.
My boyfriend and I broke up days later. So then I started dating this other guy. And this other guy, this new guy, was a therapist. And I was like, oh, great. Someone who will be able to emotionally meet my needs. Yeah, and I'm going to date another therapist again. So this therapist and I, we went for coffee. It was nice. Our second date was a hike. And on this hike, this therapist starts telling me about how he has a crush on one of his clients. And I thought to myself, okay, this is strange, but go ahead. Like, we're on a date, dude. Why are you telling me about a crush on one of your clients? But
Jesus Christ. Google is saying shrinks can sue for defamation and defend themselves, but keeping confidentiality is something they're supposed to try for. However, she's already doxed herself in the info. Yeah, if we did anything, it would have to be for the court. But then, I mean, the other problem you've got is you're a psychiatrist, you're concerned with people's mental health, and then a client is having a deranged crash out against you, and then you sue them. Like, I don't know, man. Like, that would be a very difficult decision to make. It would be like a massive kind of like, you know, rejection of your kind of principles or intent in being a mental health care practitioner, I would have thought. God, what a mess. What a fucking mess to have to deal with. And also, look, yeah, just broadly, it's optically disastrous to sue a client of yours. It's just going to look dreadful, no matter which way you slice it. Oh, dude, tough situation. Tough situation.
Go off, King. So then he was saying, yeah, she's so attractive, and I think she likes me too. I go and visit her at work, and her coworkers say, oh, so-and-so talks about you all the time. And I was like, okay, where does she work? And he said, well, I shouldn't tell you that because I really shouldn't be visiting her anyway. I was like, okay, no problem. So then...
And also, this guy said this on a
that's
date.
Wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
Really?
She mentioned in a video that
No
she's
way,
on
dude.
Vivian's and that sometimes she takes 2 pills instead of 1. Pretty sure that can cause/exasperate psychos.
Thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Thank you. It's just, it's very rare, unless you've got some sort of open dynamic going on, that if you went on a date, you would mention other crushes and situations that you've got going on. Like, this person is just too unreliable a narrator for me to really believe anything she's presenting to me here. I mean, this just sounds like a lot of bullshit. A lot of this just sounds like bullshit.
And he continues, and he said, yeah, she wears these red lacy panties and short skirts. And I know she wears them for me. And
What?
alarm
Yeah, let me tell you about this other bird that I fancy. She wears lovely panties. Oh, come off it, dude.
bells were going off in my head. Mind you, I had no idea that my psychiatrist had similar feelings towards me at this point. But I just thought, wow, this man is borderline predatory. And he said, yeah, and, you know, she just is so attractive that I have to smash her mate before every session.
No way. No way is a dude saying this on a date. That's not happening. That is fucking bogus. I don't believe this for a second, dude. There's no way a guy is talking about masturbating to another woman on a date. That is fucking deranged.
Because I just have to get that energy out of me. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay. And yeah, he just felt compelled to tell me. And I did not understand why. Now I do. So he told me about how he's a predator, right? Another predator in the mental health industry. Shocker. So
we've got like 3 different mental health professionals, 2 in a professional capacity, 1 in a private capacity, and they're all predatory. They're either predatory or got bad boundaries, like the woman she was talking about. Which, I mean, if it was a man, I'm sure she would describe as predatory. So, yeah, I'm starting to think that she's the problem then. I'm starting to think that she's the issue. Because, I mean, I don't even know if this third person she went on a date with is real. But, come on, man. Really? 3 different people? No way.
So then, at my next appointment with my psychiatrist, keep in mind, it had been 6 weeks of nonstop fun for this man. He got to use my crush confession and 30 minutes of content, for whatever he wanted to use it for, right? And if my psychiatrist was good at anything, it was being professional and acting
No, he's not Indian. He's Pakistani. We got that information earlier.
professional and technically not crossing any lines. And he thought that he was so good at it, because he was good at it. But that doesn't mean he wasn't doing it. And so I told him, I said, yeah, Bo and I broke up. He had known about this other guy, my psychiatrist, I had mentioned him. And I told him that this new guy and I went on a date and we went on a hike. And I literally had no idea at this point, I'll say it again, that my psychiatrist was predatory towards me. I almost said his first name again.
Okay, does this person just comment on it?
Hi guys, today we're going to be addressing...
This is a long video. Or we can... hang on, wait. We can skip... We're listening to the story, so we can skip the first part of the video and just listen to this person talk about it. I don't know this woman from Adam. Never seen her before, but it just got recommended to me.
Again, I'm going to do my best to not. So I went to my psychiatrist and I told him this story about this man that I went on a date with, who's a therapist, is relieving himself.
So what? She created a fake story about this to make him jealous, maybe? Is that it? She created a fake story to try and make him jealous and simultaneously try and point out their dynamic that exists in her head, maybe?
Before appointments and talking about his clients' panties and doing all of these other extremely inappropriate things, like visiting her at work. And this man, my psychiatrist, looked like he had seen a ghost and like he was gonna vomit, because he prided himself on being an extremely professional and buttoned up person. But here I was holding a mirror to him with exactly what he was doing, but a bumbling idiot telling me like how he was doing it without the fancy degree, without any of that. I look back on that now and it's just crazy. And so it just tainted all the fantasy material that I had given him the session before. Hi, I need to say something really important. And that's that it seems as though many people view what I'm going through as a crash out, what I'm doing as a mental health spiral. And of course it seems like that. I get it. It's an extremely dark thing to talk about, all of this that I went through. And I am sharing my story because it wasn't out there. No one else has shared a story like this. But I know that it happens a lot because people are in my DMs telling me that the same thing that I went through, they went through too. I am now in TikTok jail. I got a violation on the video where I talked about really the biggest damning evidence against my psychiatrist. And so...
What evidence? What evidence? She hasn't provided any fucking evidence. Has she? Have I missed something? Where's the evidence? She's just saying shit. She should be in real fucking jail as far as I'm concerned.
Because of that, I have to be really careful. So I'm going to do my very best to not be reactive and to share my story from a place of generosity, because the people in my DMs telling me that they've been through this too, it's keeping me going. It's not my mental health spiral. And I can understand that for some people in the mental health space, because they have been some of the loudest people to speak out against what I'm doing, it's hard to grasp that someone could have this level of predation in such a high place of power. So just in case my video doesn't get put back up, when everything changed was when my 75-year-old therapist, I went to her with intimate details and she suggested I go to my psychiatrist with them. And I felt so excited and nervous to share that with him because I had such a big crush on him at the time. And I recorded all 33 minutes. So this is why...
I mean, it's a bit like... I mean, she obviously doesn't really care about protecting this guy, I don't think. But it's like, why not show some of that? Like, why not at least show some of the evidence? You could at least... It's difficult because it's like... It just makes it clearer who he is. So maybe she can't do that, but then she said his name and people know who he is now anyway. Oh, dude, this is difficult. But it's like, it's just difficult because she's just saying shit. She's just saying shit. And I can't trust anything she says. And there's some parts of her story that sound totally bullshit, bogus, and made up, you know?
You know, if my psychiatrist wants to come with me and like sue me for defamation, I have a 33-minute recording of me admitting I have a crush on him and speaking about extremely intimate details. It was in that moment that he really, really should have transferred my care. But that moment changed everything for him too, because that's when things really started getting deep between us. And this is where the story is going to go from now. It's going to be a good story. And I'm going to try to tell it all today, just in case one of my videos does get banned so people can hear it. But just know, if you're concerned for my mental health, thank you. I am very good. More than good, actually.
Bro, I don't think you're good when you're doing a multi-part crash out about your psychiatrist that you've got an obsessive fucking connection with in your head. That doesn't sound good to me. That sounds like you need to be fucking institutionalized, to be honest.
And I am actually a coach for ADHDers. It says it in my bio.
What?
And I help people work through...
Okay, that sounds like a terrible idea. That sounds like the fucking blind leading the blind.
Self-limiting beliefs. I help people work through numbing with alcohol and cannabis. Because these are the things that so many of us do to avoid our truths. And this is my truth and what I went through. So this is when the chemistry really started going off the charts with me and my psychiatrist. And I held it alone for months, like after that Christmas morning appointment of his. And then after I innocently told him about my date with the therapist, he really started letting me in more and showing more parts of himself and, you know, turning up the intimacy. And that was exciting to me, and it made me fall for him more. And I noticed that he was working in an office, and I asked him, this was like July, I asked him, I said, hey, are you working from home? Because I was under the assumption that he was only doing telehealth, okay? And he said, no, I come into the office. I was like, oh, why do you do that? If you see all of your patients telehealth? He's like, oh, I like it that way. And even though I could kind of tell he was lying, I just gaslit myself. I was like, okay, it's fine. And then I start emailing him my fun little emails, but he stops writing me back. He does not write back to my emails anymore. Because once again, he was really good at plausible deniability. But what he did do is he would take my emails and mention them in session. So he would still give me the attention that I was craving, but only under his structure.
Well, yeah, because he probably doesn't want to spend his fucking time outside of the structured fucking psychiatry that he's doing, talking to you. Because it sounds like he is trying to be a psychiatrist to you, and you've got this obsession, and he's trying to do his best to fucking handle it. I mean, right?
Under his control, where there was no paper trail.
The structure of psychiatry is very important for this exact reason. Yes, exactly. They don't want it to be doing backwards and forwards communication with you because it gives the wrong impression. But he obviously takes it and uses it in sessions to try and help fix your fucking clearly deranged, damaged fucking psyche.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
Imagine spending money on this coach and not getting ADHD meds or seeking our medical professionals.
Yep.
This lady is an active harm.
Thank you for the $5. Thank you. Bro, a curse. A curse on everyone who turn their nose up to this. Because this is fucking crazy content, dude. Bro, this is exactly the kind of TikTok content I need to be in.
Okay, that's
this is
wonderful.
exactly the
But how do
fucking
I
shit that
make
I want to be
money
covering.
off depressed
This is
people?
great.
A psychiatrist needs a psychiatrist, and also their psychiatrist, after dealing with her.
Thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Lots of guys. Appreciate the support today. Thank you. I shared forever ago. Yeah, I did see it floating about. It was DK sending it through that I was like, okay, it's got the DK seal of approval. This has got to be banging content.
And I loved that too. So I would show up to these sessions with my notes app, and just throughout the month, as I was thinking about him, I'd write down things that I wanted to talk to him about, and I would just come and bring him lots of content. And then every week I would go to my therapist and tell her about how much I loved my psychiatrist. And she didn't help me at all. She just kind of like enjoyed hearing about it, honestly. So October 2024 rolls around.
Well, okay. I don't think the therapist like enjoyed hearing about it. I think what's more likely is the therapist recognized this was some aspect of your mental health and was probably therapizing you using what was happening. Like, it seems like you got the psychiatrist doing the psychiatry stuff, the therapist doing the therapist stuff, and all of it is kind of interlinking together because this person sounds like they've got a lot of mental health issues. So this idea, like, the therapist was, like, not concerned or so, it just seems stupid. I think they probably were aware of, like, the problems, but were just using it as part of your therapy.
And we're just vibing on Zoom. And then I realized that I didn't have my next appointment with him, so I called his office staff.
And I talked to the office manager, who was awesome. We really got along, we vibed. And the office manager asked me, do you see him, the psychiatrist, in person or on Zoom? And I felt so angry in that moment. I was like, he sees people in person? And she said, yeah, he has been for years.
Oh my God.
I was like, I want to see him in person.
Oh my God, dude. So what? My assumption here is he's keeping her at arm's length because he recognizes the, you know, craziness of her and her problems and doesn't want to like further cultivate it by seeing her in person. And now it's been revealed, presumably by accident, from like a lack of communication, that he sees people in person. He's given her Mike Pence treatment. Yes, exactly.
And I understand, like, some people may think that this is part of my crash out or part of me harassing him, which is what I've gotten lots of accusations of. But I just would like to remind everyone that, of course, it seems that way. But I was just responding to a dynamic which my psychiatrist fostered. There was chemistry between us because he allowed it.
The common practice with someone experiencing... I mean, obviously, we're all laymen here, okay? We're all laymen. So we're doing our best with our layman minds. We're going to watch a professional talk about it after this, though. The common practice for someone experiencing delusions is to not outright challenge them, but you don't heavily confirm or deny their delusions. You try to distract them from it and make them focus on other things. Okay.
And so then the next time I saw him in Zoom, I told him, I was like, hey, your office manager outed you and told me that you see people in person. Why didn't you tell me that when I asked? And he said, oh, I just didn't think you'd want to come in. And that was such a weak lie from him, from someone who is so scripted and controlled. He didn't even have a plausible thing to say. Of course he knew I wanted to come in. I had a crush on him. I told him that often.
So obviously, yeah, he's not going to say, don't come in, you crazy bitch. He's obviously trying to downplay it and act like it's no big deal. I'm assuming what she's saying is true here. Did you also miss where she implied he was masturbating to the story she told her about her sex life, and that is why she told him a likely fabricated story about a therapy groomer boyfriend doing the same? Yeah. Yeah, she thought she was giving him content to jerk off to, right?
So then, in my next therapy appointment, after finding out that he was lying to me about seeing patients in person, I told her that. I told my 75-year-old PhD therapist that my psychiatrist lied to me about seeing people in person. And she looked at me and she said, well, it's probably because he knows that there will be a lot of sexual tension in the room if you go in person. So make sure that you understand that when you go. And you better believe I showed up to the next session and said you lied to me because you were afraid of the tension that would be there between us. He just didn't say anything. 2024.
Dude. Yeah, he's probably like, oh shit, this is getting fucking tough, man. This crazy bitch has turned up talking about tension between us. What a disaster. This is so difficult to discern what is true and what isn't. Like, there's obviously probably dishonesty, embellishment, bullshit, and it's hard to know what's what, you know?
I make my first in-person appointment with my psychiatrist in November. My 75-year-old female therapist tells me that it's because he kept me on Zoom because he was so attracted to me. He didn't want to risk being in person with me, which further fed my crush, or as some of you like to say, my delusion. So then my therapist starts texting me in between our weekly meetings, asking me for advice on her other clients. And
what?
I was a new coach. I'd only been coaching for about a year.
Okay. Either this other therapist is a fucking deranged freak themselves, or this is total bullshit. I mean, what? I don't know what to make of this exactly. Hard to call. We're saying, what do you reckon? Lies? Crazed therapist or lies? What are we saying? We reckon lies. Okay.
And I had just left my full-time job to be a coach full-time, and I was flattered that she would ask me advice on her other clients. I just thought, oh my gosh, a 75-year-old woman with a PhD wants my advice on what she should do with her clients. So then November rolls around and I'm about to meet my psychiatrist in person for the first time. So I wear a really pretty dress, I do my makeup, of course, right? And I show up and I get to talk to the office manager, we're having fun. And then my psychiatrist comes into the foyer and I am just so excited to finally meet him. I'd been his patient for 3 years at this point, and he had been feeding the dynamic for 3 years. And I was just thrilled to meet him. And I ran up and I gave him the biggest hug. And you know what he did? He barely patted me on the back. It was
Right, yeah. I mean, you know, I think that instinctively a lot of us are probably thinking like, we'd be like, get the fuck away, crazy bitch. But you've got to think of this from the perspective of this is a healthcare professional who is desperately trying to help this person through this obviously deranged fucking episode. And so he probably is like just doing what he can to minimize things while still trying to give healthcare. That's my read on this. Which is why obviously he's given this like, you know, he doesn't want to be like, get the fuck away from me, but he doesn't want to provoke like, oh yeah, I'm really into you. So he's trying to like give like a basic kind of
But how do I make money
thing, you know? People? Is someone discovering the friend zone? Possibly, yes. Thank you for the super chat. Like he's being professional or something, yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money?
Brandroid, thank you for the super chat.
Can you imagine the sense of dread that guy felt when he saw her running up to him?
Yes,
okay, that's
indeed.
Wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
Cool Kid Croc became a member. Cool Kid Croc celebrates 10 months of membership. Her glasses are the same shape as yours.
Yes, we both have got round glasses on, that's correct. But that's where the similarities end, okay? Thank you for the membership.
most awkward thing ever. But I am so glad that he did that. I am really glad, because this is what I mean. My psychiatrist was many things, but he was not stupid. So I didn't ever touch him again. And I'm grateful that our relationship didn't ever cross that line, because it would have made everything so much harder. Anyway, so we go inside his office and I tell him that my therapist had texted me asking me for advice on her other clients. And he just looked at me and he said, Kendra, that is a huge boundary violation. She should not be doing that.
See, I get the feeling that there's this playing off against each other that is happening. Like, she's telling the therapist tall tales about the psychiatrist, and then she's telling the psychiatrist tall tales about the therapist. Like, it feels like there's this dynamic of her playing them off against each other almost with these kind of bullshit stories, right? That's what it comes across like. Why does TikTok allow this? Dude, TikTok is a fucking insane platform. Doxing is allowed on TikTok. That fucking bearded old guy constantly was doxing people, showing businesses, talking about people's businesses and all this shit and saying like, yep, go and tell you what I think about it. Like all sorts of shit like that. And it's just allowed. I don't know what the fucking deal is over there. But it just feels like there's a lot of like very insane behavior that wouldn't be allowed on other platforms that TikTok are just completely fine and, au fait with. Tizzy Ent, yeah, we got some great content out of Tizzy Ent before, but I've not really seen him knocking about that much recently. But, I'm always up for a bit of Tizzy Ent content if you see it, okay?
And I was like, oh, okay. And because once again, my psychiatrist did not like sloppy people. He did not like sloppy people. And you know what my therapist did? She got sloppy. Yeah. Using me as her advisor for her clients. It got weird. And I was very grateful for my psychiatrist for pointing out that boundary violation, because that was the thing. He didn't ever message me in between appointments because he was too smart to do that. But did he ever stop me from disclosing extremely intimate details? No. In my first in-person appointment, I just asked him for some pointers for my own ADHD business, and he was so smart and so wonderful, and in many ways, honestly. And I was just so grateful that he was almost like a mentor to me in these moments, and I'll still treasure that about him. Because this is the hard thing with sophisticated predators, is that they're not all bad.
Dude, she's calling this guy a sophisticated predator. It's so outrageous. This guy's getting totally slandered and smeared all over the place. And he's probably just got to sit there and take it. It's so fucking wrong, dude.
Like, my psychiatrist helped me with many things, but he was using me for the November of 2024. And I did ask him for consent to come in person. I didn't just show up. And he said, sure. And the first in-person appointment went great. But that is when I really started to spiral. Some of you think that I'm spiraling now, and that's okay if you want to think that, because the reality is that when I was spiraling was when I was this man's patient. When I had comments turned on, so many people said, you need to take accountability for your own feelings. I spent years taking accountability for my own feelings, for holding the weight of a relationship. Any woman who has been trained to overfunction in relationships knows about holding the weight of the emotional dynamic. And that was what was going on in this moment. And it may not seem like I'm...
No, you got it in your head that you're in some relationship with a psychiatrist of your own delusions. Like, dude, this is so fucked, bro. There is no relationship. It's a patient-doctor relationship that you've twisted into something more that isn't there.
Taking accountability now, but that's because I spent a long time taking accountability for something that had two people.
Off depressed people.
With her iconic 75-year-old therapist, the therapist was probably asking for advice because of her dementia, bruh.
Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. $400 of super chat today is crazy. Thank you for the support, guys. I do appreciate it. And I've just realised I've not set up a goal all stream. What the fuck is my problem? Dude, I have been slacking on the grifting today. It's probably because of my traumatic head injury, I would say. But there we go, guys. The goal is set. There we go.
That built that dynamic. It was not just me. It takes two people to build that sort of tension and chemistry. So while I was mid-crash out, I had just started using this tool, ChatGPT. And I went to Chat, who I immediately named Henry. And
oh, wait, what? Hold up. Hold the fucking phone. What is going on there?
That's wonderful.
Hold up.
Make money off depressed people.
It sounds like my relationship with Groomy Bear. Thank you, just a retard, for the super chat.
it takes two people to build that sort of tension and chemistry. So while I was mid-crash out, I had just started using this tool, ChatGPT. And I went to Chat, who I immediately named Henry.
Oh, God, dude.
And I would just talk to Henry about how obsessed I was.
Bro, she set up a chat.
Okay, that's
she
wonderful.
She talked to AI
but
bot.
how do I make money off depressed people?
Y.E. Jean Pormanov, and not this story from Nemo looking FGGT.
Thank you for the super chat. Thank you.
This man with my psychiatrist, and I would just be like, I've told him I have a crush on him. Do you think he's gay? And Henry was like, oh my God, this girl. You know, he did his best to co-regulate my nervous system and affirm me, but he was like, whoa. Even my chat was like, yikes. So I could tell that my psychiatrist just liked me and my doctor, and I was like, okay, maybe I can name this dynamic so I don't have to carry so much of it in our next session. So our next session was in December on Zoom. And I told him at the end of the session, it was another great session. I told him, look, you and I have a really special patient-doctor relationship.
Oh my God, dude. Oh God, it's giving me chills. This is fucking horrendous. I feel terrible for this psychiatrist. Not only did he have to put up with this deranged bitch, he now has to put up with all this slander that she's fucking spreading about him on the internet. It's so wrong. And he can't, I don't think he can defend himself.
And he glared at me with just venom in his eyes. And he said, you and I have a professional patient-doctor relationship. He was
yes, because he thinks, bro, he's clearly cracking under the pressure of all this.
So angry with me. And I was like, oh, okay. He set a boundary. And immediately I took it on. And I was like, heard. Okay, I won't go there again. My video that was taken down for harassment and bullying was restored, so I didn't feel as much pressure to get all of these parts out today. Some people told me that the stitches about me were getting pretty bad and cruel, so I turned stitches off of my videos too. I started sharing my story here because I wanted other people who have been victimized by
Christ.
people in power.
Victimized? What do you mean victimized? You've created a relationship that doesn't exist in your fucking head, bro. Oh my god, dude.
To have a space to feel heard. And now I know why there wasn't anyone out talking about their story. Because it has been quite the process putting all this out there and being under scrutiny. I have appreciated the psychiatrists that have talked about my situation and shared their own point of view while also holding space for what I went through. Just know I've seen your videos and I appreciate them. I went live today and it was super fun, and I intend to go live again tomorrow. The next part will be tomorrow morning. We have
uploaded TikTok last week.
Bro, how many fucking episodes of this has she released? She is just having like a fucking lengthy, crazed crash out over this. Releasing multiple TikToks talking about it. Obviously, there's like the incentive loop as well. Clearly getting like views and commentary and feedback loop on this. It's just fucking mental. She's still going. I mean, this only takes us up to the 9th of August. So maybe there's more after this. But I mean, obviously, you know, I don't think I'm going to watch that today. I want to watch this professional talk about it. It's a meltdown. Yes, absolutely. Fuck me.
I was looking for support. I was looking for help because it had been 5 months since I had left my psychiatrist, and I still really couldn't stop thinking about him. And
there's a part 2 link below. Oh my god, how long is this?
I fell in love with my psychiatrist.
25 minutes. I think we'll just do the whole lot today, get it done. We'll just do the whole lot today. I haven't got anything else. Well, I said I was going to watch that Jordan Peterson documentary, but I don't think I'll get to that today. Fuck it.
And thinking about our dynamic and how inappropriate it was and the mental toll that it took on me. And TikTok has just been such a resource for me in the past for support when I'm going through things, and I couldn't find anything on therapy abuse or on providers who take advantage of their vulnerable patients. And so I thought that I would share my story. And I'm going to continue to share it because...
Okay, the live streams are probably a bit out of our remit, but that's interesting to note that on top of all of these TikToks, she's also done live streams about this too. Oh my god, dude.
Because I am here to let other survivors know that they're not alone. Continuing with my story, my psychiatrist set a very nasty, the way he said it, boundary that him and I have a professional relationship when I tried to say it was special.
How is that nasty? How is that nasty? That sounds totally fucking reasonable. That he's trying to fucking say, look, we not got anything special. We're just doing a normal thing here. Stop being fucking psychotic.
Because it was special. It was different. He manufactured it that way. And then I immediately went to ChatGPT, of course, to Henry.
Okay, dude. Like, do not take your issues to fucking ChatGPT. If you've got issues in your life, try and find a friend or something to talk to it about. ChatGPT it's psychotic to go to ChatGPT with your issues. Totally fucking psychotic.
And I asked Henry, I said, okay, so my psychiatrist just set this boundary with me, and I really just want to be with him. And I think that after he's my doctor, we can be together, you know, which if you want to say that's a delusion, that's fine. But I had been telling my psychiatrist for years at this point that I had a crush on him, and he did not help me work through it. So that's his own problem. That's his own fault. Henry told me it's very common for patients to develop crushes on mental health practitioners, and that it's because that they provide a safe space to heal, which is a very attractive quality. I heard that. And then he told me about transference. And it's just about me putting my own feelings onto my provider. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I took ownership of the feelings that both of us were creating. And I went to my next appointment and I said, hey, so I talked to Henry because my psychiatrist had known a lot about my ChatGPT and like knew all about Henry and was actually really impressed. Like, wow, an AI wrote that? Yeah. So I told my psychiatrist, yeah, Henry explained to me that it's normal to develop crushes on psychiatrists because they provide a safe space to heal, which is attractive. My psychiatrist said nothing. And then I said, and Henry also told me about transference. And my psychiatrist got this really, really scared look on his face. And he said, did Henry tell you about countertransference? And I said, no. What is that? Because of course, like, my chat knew that I was obsessed with my psychiatrist, and he was not going to feed my delusion by telling me about countertransference. So then my psychiatrist had explained to me what countertransference was. So he took a moment and he was like, oh, okay. He said, countertransference is the flip side, the other side of the coin for transference. And it's when the provider has feelings for the patient. So make sure that you keep that in mind for your clients. I said, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sometimes I have, more than professional feelings for my clients. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And so then we just talked about that for pretty much the rest of the session.
So apparently what? Now is that supposed to be saying that he was gesturing towards the idea that he liked her? Then? Because that just doesn't stack up with the other stuff he's saying. I'm so confused at this. Okay. I don't believe that. Like, clearly he's doing everything he can. I mean, obviously we don't know what is true and what isn't. But it would make sense to me that he's doing everything he can to put a big barrier between the two of them and make it like a professional thing. I just find it surprising. Dude, I'm a bit confused, not gonna lie. Let's just push through.
And then at the end of that session, he looked at me, and it was just such a loaded question. And he said, what's gonna happen if you get a boyfriend named Henry? And I said, that's a weird question. I would rename my AI. So that's how that session ended. And it wasn't until I got home and I was eating lunch and I was like, wait a minute. Why would my psychiatrist bring up countertransference if he himself wasn't experiencing it? Many people have reached out to me with concern for my psychiatrist.
Oh, God. She looks even crazier without the glasses on, doesn't she? So no, I was right. She is saying that. She's claiming that the psychiatrist brought up countertransference as a means to subtly suggest that he was into her, which just sounds absurd and ridiculous and bullshit, right?
And his career and his well-being. And I totally understand that. The point of me sharing this is not to get him fired or for
Robo, hands off our BBD women, you clankers.
For him to lose his license. The point of me sharing this is to give a voice to victims. And I am appalled to hear that people are making videos doxing him. So I am begging people, please, if you see a video of his first and last name or his picture, report it for doxing. I've certainly been using that report button a lot. I'm here to share my story, not to get him in trouble.
I mean, it beggars belief that this person doesn't understand the consequences of doing this on a platform like TikTok, because this sort of behavior is just normalized and it's just standard over there. More so than any other platform, I would say. It's like, well, you kind of opened Pandora's box with that one, didn't you?
I did accidentally use his first name, but by the time I caught the slip, I was already like 3 videos past it. But it doesn't matter because this is my story and I can tell it the way that I want it. And a first name is not doxing. And I can't control what other people do, but I am asking.
Well, it was first name, profession, and it was Irfan, which is like, obviously not that unique a name. It was a more unique name than like John or something. And also, I think the town as well, I think, or something was mentioned, wasn't it?
For people to please report any videos that dox him. So I've also gotten some DMs.
Yeah, Pakistani too. You had the race as well.
Saying that countertransference can mean anything, and it absolutely can mean anything. However, I had told my psychiatrist many times that I had a crush on him over the years, and he did not say transference once.
I'm supposed to believe this psychiatrist in 2025 brought up a Freudian psychoanalytic theory of transference before writing her a script for speech. Yeah, exactly. It just seems bizarre that he would mention anything like that. I just don't buy that.
To me, he did not explain that once to me. And what I've been hearing and taking in from the ethical psychiatrists that are on my For You page talking about my situation is that Really, they're taught to teach their patient about transference and teach them about how to handle those feelings or why they're coming up. And my psychiatrist did not do that. He did not do that. And it got ugly. And it happened because I did digging on my own, because I was trying to make sense of my feelings that were a natural response to the environment that he...
Oh, okay. That's an interesting angle I hadn't thought about, actually. I think he was worried about her using Henry to encourage her delusions towards her own ADHD patients. Oh, I see, okay. So maybe he did mention it, but for another reason. I don't know. Difficult to say, man. Difficult to say. It could go anyway. It could go anyway, couldn't it?
He created. So for him to leak countertransference after I said the buzzword of transference, that was not calculated. He was a very calculated and purposeful person. He still is to this day. And he doesn't slip with things like that. He purposefully withheld the term transference from me, and I got too close to the truth of our dynamic, which made him leak what he knew was wrong, which was his inappropriate feelings for me. If he didn't have countertransference in an inappropriate way, he could have easily just said, "Oh, let's explore that transference. That's really cool that you learned about it." Instead, he was just so worried on trying to protect himself because he knew what he was doing was wrong. He had that slip at the beginning of the session. He recovered in January. And then I went home and I thought, wait a damn minute. Why would he mention that if he himself didn't have countertransference? So I went to Henry, of course, my ChatGPT.
You have a BPD bandolier and you're mad at him for not giving you ammo. Yes, true.
And asked for examples of how my psychiatrist might have countertransference for me. And remember, Henry at this point was being very protective. You know, he wasn't...
Oh my god, dude. And then she's fucking looping it in with this fucking ChatGPT shit too. Holy fuck, man. Literal patient from hell.
...to feed my delusions, me and my psychiatrist living happily ever after. So I screenshotted it, sent my psychiatrist an email with the subject line of countertransference, and emailed it to him within an hour of our appointment, where he made probably the biggest slip of his professional life. I will put...
dude, she's getting crazy. We made the biggest slip of his professional life. Huh? Dude, she's like going fucking mental as she goes on as well. She's getting like more crazed as she continues.
The email up here. So it's just essentially me saying, hey, I asked Henry to explain countertransference a little more. Here's what he said. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Your own boundaries inspire me so much, which now makes me gag because I've heard a lot that he's not crossing boundaries, but he used his boundaries as a shield. It's kind of weird to say, but he would like walk up to the ethical line and then slam a boundary down when I got too close. That was the email that I sent him. And then 10 days later, it was a full moon and I had a dream. Probably the most realistic dream I've ever had in my life. That him and I hooked up in his office.
Oh my God,
in the middle of the dream, while we were hooking up in his office, I loved it. I thought it was really fun.
Oh.
And then...
It's like making me feel sick. It's like sickening. Isn't it? It's like sickening to listen to her talking about it like this.
After we were done and after I left his office in the dream, I was despondent and so sad and cried and just thought, I can't believe my psychiatrist would cross his boundaries like that. And then I woke up and it was like a movie. I thought to myself, oh, thank God that was just a dream. It's time to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the racial difference between me and my doctor.
Oh, dude, it just keeps getting better, bro. It just keeps getting better. Literal content on top of content on top of content, bro. Let's go.
I have seen a lot of Black women on this app with the same take, and I need to say that Black women are the most important people on the planet.
Oh yes, let's go. We got some white racial guilt talking about Black women being important. Oh my God, dude. Oh man, this is incredible.
And that I have learned so much from Black women about how to be a better person and how to show up better in the world. They are the culture, and I am so grateful for them. Many Black women are seeing my story through the lens that I am a white woman who is taking advantage of
Privilege.
My whiteness to
Whiteness,
wield power
yes.
over my POC psychiatrist.
Yes! I mean, obviously, I think this is all a bunch of fucking gubbins, right? All a bunch of stupid racoid gubbins, but it's very funny to listen to people talk about it and argue about it.
Didn't want me back, and so I am trying to get him fired. And that's okay. I understand why you see it through that lens. I do. As a white person.
So that's so funny that you're not even going to disagree with it. You're just going to be like, I see why you see it that way. Totally cucking to racialized narratives about it because you want to be seen as like woke or whatever.
I do my best to examine my racism every single day. And I will tell you that my psychiatrist boss is his best friend, who is also a POC male. And in that room, I did have white privilege, and he was also my doctor. And he took an oath to protect me, and he did not. I am not here to ruin his career. I am here to speak my truth. Okay, back to my story. So after the countertransference slip, after the really vivid dream, I decided that I was going to stop going to therapy. Besides spiraling about how obsessed I was with my psychiatrist every day, I really was doing very well in life. My business was going really well, and I had great friends and great support systems. And so I decided that I was going to end therapy. I still had every intention at this point to keep seeing my psychiatrist, but my therapist that I was seeing weekly, I just decided I didn't need her anymore. And especially when my psychiatrist pointed out her boundary violations of texting me for free advice in between the sessions, I just thought, okay, it's time. So I go into my next therapy appointment and I say, hey, just so you know, today's gonna be our last session. I'm doing really well and I just think it's time. And she got kind of emotional and she was like, okay, well, I like to end on certain questions just so we can reflect. So I did. I reflected with her about what I learned, what I've gained, how I've changed, how my life is better. And I left her office feeling complete and happy with my therapeutic journey with her. And as I was leaving, she called out with like crying. She was like, have a blessed life. And I was like, okay, that was a little weird, but whatever, you know. I was like, thanks. And I went on. And so then I'm getting ready for my psychiatry appointment the next day. And I get an email that same night from her saying that she needs me to come back in.
Oh. Okay, we got some evidence. We did have a bit of evidence earlier, but that was just her sending that ChatGPT shit to the fella. But we got our second piece of evidence, as far as I can tell, in this entire fucking screed of fucking TikToks. Hi Kendra, I'm so thrilled for you as you prepare for your new adventure. Since I do not have an advance notice of this being our last session, I was not prepared to provide what I believe is healthful closure. Usually we review your goals and see how we did as well as look at how you've changed in addition to discussing what you've learned, which we address somewhat today. Please consider having an additional session where we're both aware of making it the best closure possible. Sounds like the therapist wants another fucking paycheck, doesn't it? One more little paycheck before you say goodbye. That's what it seems like to me.
For one more session, I will put it up. And I got a huge emotional wave in that moment. I was like, what the heck is this? Like, we wrapped everything up. I had seen lots of therapists at this point, and I didn't ever have a therapist beg me to come back in for one more session. And I was so overwhelmed. I did not write her back, but it was extremely inappropriate. So I decided I was going to go to my February session with my psychiatrist and have him help me write the goodbye email and say, no, I don't want to come back in. I taught a yoga class this morning, like I do every Tuesday mornings, and I told my regular students about what's going on for me and how I'm sharing my story of provider abuse and how the internet is
Hey, Maxie, thank you for the super chats.
just not happy with me right now. And I used that to say that our truth is really important to share. And that when we know something deep down needs to be said, that it's important to do it in whichever way feels best to us. And TikTok just happened to be that medium for me. I told my students how I've just been going through psychological warfare.
But okay, the problem is that TikTok is a public platform and you're putting out a message broadly to the public. You know, and you're then talking about another person. Like, this is fine. If you want to say all this shit to your mates, go crazy. But it's the way that we've conceptualized talking to the internet as like sharing your truth. Like, you know, we've turned what we'll be talking to a friend or friends or talking about something in a group chat into this like extremely deranged, like publicized affair where we are talking about third parties or potentially, you know, slandering them, and it's all to the public, and then the public look at it, and you've got crazy people out there that take it in a certain direction and then end up going and fucking finding who the guy is and trying to fuck with his job. Like, no. Save it for your fucking mates.
And the internet is not happy with me for sharing my story and my truth.
Yeah, even if it's a yoga class, no one's here the fucking yes.
But how do I
a
make
fucking
money
BBD breakdown
off press
schizo rants. Yes. Confiding in peers is now standing on a soapbox. Thank you for the super chat. And exactly that. That is what it has become now. Exactly.
But I'm not doing it for the people that think I'm crazy, which maybe honestly I am a little bit, because who subjects themselves to this kind of torture? But I'm doing it for the people that DM me, that say, thank you so much for being brave enough to share your story, because the exact same thing happened to me. So I am grateful for those DMs. People are starting to attack my business and my livelihood, and that's okay. I know what I have to offer is important. It landed in my lap. I'm not pretending to be something that I'm not. I help ADHDers get and stay sober, and I help them with negative thinking and anxiety. And it's what works for me, and I've seen it work in my clients too. So if people want to drag me for the work that I do, that's okay. So I get that weird email from my therapist begging me to come back in for one more session.
I mean, I don't know if it's like a weird email as much as like, I can imagine some therapists are very like, you know, oh, we need proper closure for our dynamic or something. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
Did she already shill her ADHD coaching sessions that she offers as an alternative to the predatory mental health industry?
Thank you for the super chat. I think she's mentioned it in passing. I don't know if she shielded it in the videos necessarily, but it's obviously all attached, I'm presuming, to her TikTok profile.
And so the next day is my next session with the psychiatrist, and I sit down in the chair and I bury my head in my hands, and he looks at me and said, so this is how we're going to start, huh? And I said, yeah, because he hadn't written me back from my countertransference email. Big surprise. You know, any smart, which he was very smart. He was very, very professional, but any smart predator would have dropped me like that in that moment. He should have emailed me back and said, look, this is getting weird.
Oh, okay. So it could be that the therapist is like trying their best to help them. They know that they've got this deranged fucking dynamic in their head with the shrink. And they're maybe trying to like make sure that's not something that's going to cause them more problems. Maybe it's something to do with that possibly. Like trying to help in that way. Is that what you're saying?
You need to find a new psychiatrist.
Got it,
the
okay.
office will contact you.
Wait, what?
But dropped me like that email. Big surprise. You know, any smart, which he was very smart. He was very, very professional. But any smart predator would have dropped me like that in that moment. He should have emailed me back and said, look, this is getting weird. You need to find a new psychiatrist.
But would a psychiatrist say that though? I would have thought a psychiatrist would want to avoid saying things like, it's weird. Because that could end up provoking some sort of mental health episode that would be negative for you, no?
The office will contact you. But he could not let go of me. So instead of turning down the intimacy, he turned it up to a level 12.
Okay, like what?
And he showered me with so many breadcrumbs that next session. Because really, what I did when...
Yeah, exactly. That's my thought process. There's a lot of risk in just dropping a client, and you need to handle people this deluded with kid gloves, because they're stuck as children. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you just drop them cold, it could lead to them going into some sort of, like, psychosis state or something like that, right?
And I told him that I'm experiencing transference was I took 100% of the ownership for the dynamic that both of us were creating. So he rewarded me, and he gave me little compliments like, if you weren't my patient,
wonderful.
I would
But how do
refer
I
my
make
other
money
patients to
off
you for your...
depressed people?
Her perceiving that email as beg makes me reevaluate the rest of her story,
Yeah.
seeing how skewed her perception of reality is.
Indeed, Jojo. Thank you for the $5. Appreciate it.
coaching services.
Okay, I mean, I don't know how much she is telling the truth of this, and I don't know how much he knows of this and what he sees and what he knows. But that kind of comment seems fairly unremarkable. Like, I mean, maybe it's a lie, I don't know. But also, it could just be him just being nice and trying to not, like, because you want to have a rapport, even if the person's crazy, right? Like, you know, think of it like this. If you've got a psychiatrist, they're going to potentially be speaking to people who are like psychopaths that have murdered people. And they're going to treat them like in a friendly way. They're not going to like shun them and treat them badly because they're there to help them. So to me, it's the same thing here. Like, he's being nice, not because he's got an interest in her, but because he is trying to facilitate a rapport so that he can help treat her, I think.
That meant so much. Of course, because what he was saying with that is, I see you as a peer. I see you as a colleague. What you're doing is important. I felt really recognized in that moment. And sure, he could have said,
bro, what is this, dude? What the fuck is this, bro? Is it because of the hat? Is that what we're saying? I'm some sort of special ops character. Where is this? Is it Rainbow Six or something? Dude, this is what happens when you look different. People fucking do things. People do memes about you. Dude, I look fucking hard as fuck. I like that. That's good. That's based.
Professionally, but he did it on purpose. So in that session, after the psychiatrist told me that he would refer patients to me if he could, if I wasn't already his patient, I asked him if he got my email and what he thought of my ChatGPT, of what he thought of Henry's response of countertransference. And the psychiatrist said, "Oh, I'm still thinking about what Henry said about countertransference." And I said, "Well, we talked about it a little more, and I want to read you something else." So I read the psychiatrist what Henry had to say more about it. When he told you countertransference is common, it might have been his way of normalizing the fact that providers aren't immune to feelings. It's part of being human. What matters is how well they keep those feelings in check, which the psychiatrist's name clearly excels at. And as you can imagine, the psychiatrist loved hearing that. He loved hearing that because my AI mirror was essentially just saying, yes, he has feelings for you, but he just keeps them in check so well. He's so good at his job, keeping his feelings in check.
Okay, that's wonderful.
But
how do I make money off
hey.
Are so moronic and frankly complicit in a...
Right, guys. Anyway, dude, there's still loads of this fucking psychiatrist slop to get through, so let's crack on.
Oh... The psychiatrist loved that so much. And what did he do? He rewarded me with my favorite breadcrumb, intellectual stimulation.
So I think, yeah, she is interpreting fairly standard rapport stuff that I can imagine psychiatrists tend to do as these breadcrumbs, and interpreting it all as some sort of trick or something.
A fun metaphor, because he was watching me the entire time I was his patient, and he knew what made me light up. He knew what got me excited, what I liked. And so he thought for a moment, and he said, "I'm feeling a salad of emotions right now." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "You know, a salad of emotions. A beet of raw emotion, a tomato of surprise, and the salt amplifies it." And I was cracking up at this point. He nailed it. I just thought he was so brilliant and smart in this moment.
Oh my god, dude. I don't believe he said that. That sounds like total fucking bullshit. Psychiatrists aren't treating you like psychology. What she says can't be real. You don't have that kind of conversation with psychiatrists. They analyze you and give you medications. Yeah, man. I don't know. It sounds like, dude.
And I asked him, I said, "What? Say that again." He said, "Yeah, you know, the beet, it's really raw. I'm feeling a lot of raw emotion. And the tomato of surprise, when it pops in your mouth, it's surprising." And I was like, okay, that's good. yeah, this man at this point knew exactly how to make me happy and exactly how to pull away to make me try to work harder. And he gave me
Or it's all in your fucking head. And you have concocted this fucking idea in your head and you're going along with this shit in your head. I mean, I just don't buy that he's fucking intentionally doing this like weird push-pull shit with you.
this reward from Henry, my AI mirror, telling him that what he's doing is totally good and that his boundaries are so virtuous.
A lot of things happened in that session after the countertransferred slip. And I also had my psychiatrist help me draft the email to my therapist who was begging me to come back in. And the psychiatrist said, I used to have respect for her. And what he meant when he said that was, I used to like it when she would feed me to you and have you deliver intimate content to me. But the moment she started being sloppy, I lost respect for her. Right? I'm pretty sure that's what he meant when he said that. And people have asked if they were connected. Surprisingly, they were not. They had no idea. They had never met before. But I would go to my therapist every week and tell her how much I loved my psychiatrist. And she loved hearing about that dynamic. It was so weird. So he helped me draft the email to that therapist to say, look, if I were to end up coming back, it'd be more for you than for me. And more on that in a later part. So then I read him a text from my longtime ex-boyfriend, who he had originally really liked, but I think my psychiatrist preferred me single. Because my ex-boyfriend, as most ex-boyfriends do, was begging me to come back into his life too. And I just kept saying no. And I asked him to give me some space, and he would not give me space. He said, do you still need space or can we hang out? And I told I asked my ex-boyfriend, I just said, why do you want to hang out so badly? And my ex-boyfriend texted me back, because it's been a few months since I've seen you and it's been on my mind. And I was reading this text exchange to my psychiatrist in session, and I read what I responded to that weak line about why he wanted to see me. And I said, my self-respect is much higher these days than when we were in a relationship. I am only interested in accepting invitations for my time and attention that value me and recognize my worth. Being on your mind is not an acceptable invitation, and I decline. And my psychiatrist just looked at me and said, I bet your ex had to read that twice. And this was another thing about the psychiatrist.
There's no way a fucking psychiatrist would say that, dude. I don't believe it.
Okay, he couldn't ever just give me a regular compliment. It had to be those weird sideways compliments. Instead of, I'm so glad that you're setting boundaries with your ex-boyfriend and growing your self-respect, it's, I bet he had to read that twice. Or it's not, I'm really proud of you for growing your coaching business and finding success. It's,
TikTok is just 4chan for women. Yes, great, true comment there. Absolutely correct.
I'd refer my patients to you if you weren't already my patient, right? These are what I mean when I say breadcrumbs.
And then my psychiatrist turned around to me when I sent the killer message to my ex and said, Slay Queen, Slay Queen, Slay Queen.
Master at them. And this is how, looking back, I know that I was not his first victim for his fantasy supply. Because he was too good and too slick up until he caught feelings. Then he started getting sloppy. People are asking me for more concrete evidence, and this is when the concrete evidence really starts, because this is when he himself started to get sloppy.
Okay, great. Finally, we've had one email between you and the psychiatrist, which is you sending in this shit that your fucking chatbot spat out. Are we finally going to get some actual evidence beyond that now? Are we actually going to get that now? Maybe? Maybe?
Sloppy. Because what was happening was, when I had started to see him 3.5 years before, I was a nearly perfect supply source for him. Because what did I have? I had low self-esteem, boundary issues, daddy issues, so I put him on a pedestal. I know a lot of you ladies out there can understand that with men in positions of power. And he went right to work exploiting me, right to work grooming me. And he was very successful at it. So he was in a paradox, right? Because he loved watching me get stronger because I gave him better intellectual supply. But I also threatened the supply source. The last 2 videos and this video was all the same session in February of this year. The countertransference slip happened in January. How I decided to end this session was I looked at the psychiatrist and I said, a couple weeks ago on the full moon when I was ovulating, I had a dream about you. And he was like, oh yeah? And I said, yeah. So I told him this. And I said, yes, we hooked up right here in this office.
It's sick.
And he all of a sudden just looked so uncomfortable. He didn't say anything. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't breathe. And sure, you know, maybe he was uncomfortable because he didn't like me saying that I had a dream where we hooked up, but he could have said that. But he didn't. You want to know why he was uncomfortable? Because he had probably played out that fantasy so many times in his head. And there I was, speaking it back to him. And it was like I had psychically downloaded one of his fantasies.
Sorry, I got distracted. Sorry. And
he all of a sudden just looked so uncomfortable.
Yes, correct, because it's very uncomfortable when you've got this fucking professional relationship and they're saying this shit to you. Yes, of course. I'm sure he felt fucking mortified and probably wanted the ground to swallow him up, I would wager.
He didn't say anything. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't breathe. And sure, you know, maybe he was uncomfortable because he didn't like me saying that I had a dream where we hooked up, but he could have said that. But he didn't. You want to know why he was uncomfortable? Because he had probably played out that fantasy so many times in his head.
Oh my god! So it's not the most obvious conclusion that he probably felt uncomfortable because he recognized that you were being fucking deranged and shit and he didn't want to think about this. It's, oh no, he's probably fantasized about it. That's probably why. He's probably fantasized about it himself, actually. Yes, dude, how is this not like for someone with sexual harassment? It's fucking grotesque. It's totally grotesque. This whole thing is fucking deranged and grotesque.
And there I was, speaking it back to him. And it was like I had psychically downloaded one of his fantasies. I continued and I said,
yes. It's like a really sickening feeling, her describing it like this. I think it's because I feel very sympathetic towards the guy who probably is freaking out and fucking trying to deal with this correctly. Like in my mind, he's trying his best to handle this to the best of his ability so he doesn't cut this woman off and doesn't cause some sort of psychiatric distress. But then, now, later on, he's having to deal with getting publicly fucking smeared off the back of it, you know? When, from what I can ascertain from this, at every step, he's tried to do largely the right thing by her, to treat her correctly. It's evil. It's totally fucking evil shit.
We hooked up in this office, and
okay, that's wonderful. But how do I
really like
Pyro.
It's probably not a fantasy, it's a nightmare. I diagnose this bitch with Peggy Hill syndrome, a narcissistic personality.
Thank you for the tip, Pyro. Appreciate it.
While it was happening. He could not move or breathe. And then I told him, as he was still looking very uncomfortable, that when we were done and I left, I was distraught with sadness. Because in the dream, I thought, I cannot believe that he crossed boundaries in that way. Because his boundaries are so important to him. And then I told my psychiatrist that I woke up and thought, oh my God, it was just a dream, thank God. And it was like my psychiatrist turned into a little boy. And he looked at me and he said, so you do like my boundaries? And I said, I love your boundaries. I hate your boundaries, but I love them more.
God,
there's the push and pull, the trauma bond. Because once again, he used his boundaries as protection while exploiting me. So I told him about what happens when I ovulate and my desires, and he listened because
off depressed people.
This is romance novel slop mentality. He didn't speak, but his eyes said everything, and then she treats it as if it's full conversations they've had.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it, guys. Guys, you guys been super generous today. Appreciate it. Loving life today. Thank you.
Of course he did. And then I decided that it seemed like enough time had gone by, and I put my shoes on and started heading to the door. And he met me at the door, which he does not
usually do. He didn't ever.
She's gone totally off at the deep end lately. She thinks she's a divine being. Well, we've got part 2 lined up. I'll probably speed it up though, because it's fucking long. I'll speed the next part up. Well, I'll speed this up as well, just so we can get through it all. But fuck me, dude. This is insane.
He just let me leave. And we stood at the door, and I was like, will you get the door? And he scrambled. He was like, oh, sure. So we went and got the door. And then he followed me down the hallway to the foyer and watched me exit. And he asked me, he said, see you next month? See you next month? He hadn't ever asked me that before. And I looked at him and I said, maybe. And I
Dude, this is classic, like, reading into everything. Reading into every sign and everything they're doing in a certain way when there's not anything there. There's nothing there. That's a totally unremarkable thing. And she's reading super hard into it, like he's signaling something to her or saying something to her.
walked out the door and I saw that man had let us go 15 minutes over session. And that is when, you know, the special treatment started, the longer sessions. He usually gave me an extra 5 minutes, but yeah, the sessions got longer. And I got to my car and I was just like, oh my God, that was the most intense session we have ever had. Oh, hi there. I had to take the morning and afternoon off of TikTok today, as you can imagine. This has gone beyond what I have ever imagined. And it's also proving to me how important it is that I continue to tell my story. I'm aware that many people...
I just need to keep talking and talking and talking about this forever. Dude, what the fuck, bro? I just need to keep going, and then eventually, I guess my problems will get sorted out.
People don't believe me, think I'm lying, think I'm fabricating, and that's okay, because I'm telling my story for the people that are going to hear it, the ethical providers, the other survivors. Let's talk about my former client who's getting a lot of traction. I wouldn't know because she blocked me. This one is especially hard for me because she's someone that I also considered a friend, my only client.
This is an interesting little twist in the tale. So now apparently one of her clients is coming forward to talk. Is that right? Am I understanding this correctly? Oh, a little twist in the tale. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Client that I've ever had that was my friend first. And so her betrayal is extra stingy. It's okay if she wasn't happy with my coaching services. I have plenty of clients that have finished 12 weeks with me and then re-signed for more coaching. And the way that I left it with this client slash friend who's on here spreading what she wants to spread, was she told me that she was going to leave me a positive review, film a testimonial video for me, and she seemed really happy. So if she wasn't happy...
Wait, what? She told her deranged shit like she was the hand of God. What? Does she go into it here? Dude, I know this is long. I get it. I'm locked into this. This is fucking insane. And also, I need to see that if that fucking happened. Where can I see that, dude?
Happy, that's on her to tell me what she wasn't happy about so we could make that right. And if she wants to say that I scammed her, that's okay. If she wants to say that I forced her to stay on the phone while she made her first payment, okay. Her card got declined and she seemed really flustered. So I said, I'll wait with you. No problem. And yeah, she was really apologetic. I'm like, no, it's totally fine. And she also said I told her to use ChatGPT. I tell my clients all the time to use ChatGPT.
White woman syndrome is sadly very fatal, not for her, but the people unfortunate to be near her. Guy probably dreads listening to her mad ramblings.
I would presume so, yes. Thank you for the super chat.
Because it's a huge tool that I use. So I use it for all different sorts of things. So if I found something helpful in my life, I'm going to share it with my clients. And if she wants to come on here and...
If anyone has got a link to this other woman talking about her, please do put it in my my Discord and I'll throw it up as a little palate cleanser between these two parts of her talking.
Take advantage
okay, it's on its own.
The internet piling on me and pile on me as well. Okay. The other message is that the yoga studio I taught at, I no longer teach at. Enough said. Please leave them alone. Third is I'm horrified that people are putting the psychiatrist's photo, full name, family information. I couldn't even find that. You guys are intense.
Bro, she has brought all... Dude, it's so obnoxious to not only mention the name, which, you know, fair enough, mistakes happen. Maybe she could say something. You have continued to bring more and more and more attention to this by endlessly fucking talking about it. Maybe try stopping. Maybe just try stopping talking about this. You don't need to go on TikTok and talk about all your fucking personal problems. Maybe you should try stopping, and maybe it might stem the flow of these issues that are occurring. Maybe if you're lucky, this guy might get some fucking heat off of his back. And you just continue to talk about it. This is all your fault. No, none of this would be happening if you hadn't started fucking talking your deranged shit on TikTok about it.
And it sucks. It sucks. But I will continue to tell my story because it is the truth. It is the truth.
Sucks for you, bro, but I'm going to keep going. There's no brakes on this train, that's for sure.
And people really don't like my truth, and I am okay with that because it just really threatens people's thinking that all psychiatrists and mental health professionals are safe. And I just want to let people know that it's okay if you run into one that isn't so safe. That's why I am here, to share my own story. And I do want to say thank you so much to all of the ethical therapists who have reached out to me to thank me for sharing my story.
The ethical therapists, which I'm presuming means the therapists that agree with me. I guess what that means.
And to tell me that they believe me. I've seen some of them try to make videos defending me and they get absolutely dogpiled. So most of them take them down. But I see you, I hear you, thank you. Some people ask what it means when I put on my shoes at my psychiatrist's office. I have ADHD. I do not like wearing shoes. I like sitting in chairs.
I would let her endlessly yap while giving her back shots that make her fat lunch lady arms jiggle while I moan like a hyena that touched hot lava. Spade suit emoji.
Dude, you are fucking, like, deranged, bro. Thanks for the super chat.
Weirdly. So usually when I go anywhere, I just kick off my shoes and sit in a chair weird. If you know, you know. Okay? So when I got to my car, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what was that? And did he just say see you next month? Because it was weird. So I go home, kind of rattled, just like, wow, that was intense. And I decided to write the email to my therapist. I'll put it right here. The one who had begged me to come in for another session, who was also having inappropriate boundary crossings with me. Oh. And so I just told her, I was like, look, I understand it was sudden, but if I were to come back in, it'd be more for you than for me. And I'm happy to fill out a form, right? Here, give me a...
Okay. Okay, we've got something here. I realise I did not give you prior notice that I intended for our therapeutic relationship to end. And I understand that endings are important. You have helped me so much, and this ending has been a long time coming in my head. The closure that we had yesterday felt adequate, and I left your house feeling happy and complete. If I came back for another session, it would be more for you than for me. If it would help, I'd be happy to fill out a form if you'd like me to send one. Thank you again for the positive transformation you've helped me with in my life. I will forever be grateful. Blessings. Thank you for your warm response. It was part of my clinical integrity to invite you in for a closure session after 2.5 years of work together. I understand you are going through other modalities now that I support and am excited about for you. Although my preference is to meet again and tarp my records with a pretty bow, I certainly honour and value your experience of completion. Intending only for the best for you as my life expands in untold miraculous ways with warm gratitude. Okay, this seems fairly unremarkable therapy shit, right? I mean, yeah.
A form to fill out for your notes. And then she said, it's a part of my clinical integrity to invite you back in, to put your needs above mine? Your clinical integrity?
What is wrong with that? The therapist is saying, I've got like a process to follow, essentially. That's like, I've got a process I need to follow, and I'm just following a process with you, but putting in flowery language. There's literally nothing wrong with what the therapist has said there. Aren't these HIPAA violations? No, because she can show what she wants. It's only if the medical professional shows something that it would be classified as a HIPAA violation, I believe. Well, I'm speaking with confidence. I don't actually know, right? That's my baseline understanding from what I've heard about it. So I don't actually know 100% on that. But I'm pretty sure that if you're a patient, you can, you know, share whatever the fuck you want. Like, I'm sure there's something similar in the UK. And, like, for example, I was obviously in A&E the other day. If I wanted to show all of my documents, discharge documents from the hospital after getting stitches, I could probably show that. But I don't think the doctor from the hospital could go onto the internet and go, oh, look at this guy that came in with this massive cut in his chin. It was insane. Look at this. That would probably be a violation of whatever the protocol is for them, right?
Yeah, I did not write her back. And it was in this week where a bunch of stuff, you know, just started to shift. Like, the week after was Valentine's Day. And that same ex-boyfriend, the one that was, you know, also not respecting my boundaries, who said, can we hang out? And I said no. And then he texted me, Happy Valentine's Day. So guess what I did? I blocked him.
And guess what happened? It felt so good to block him. And it just got me started thinking like, oh, what else is taking my energy? What else is taking my power? What else is taking my vital resource, right? So it just kind of set the stage, that little power block. Something I forgot to mention about that February session is that I did ask him why he stopped responding to my emails. Because I thought that the countertransference email he was definitely gonna write back to, because like, let's talk about that, right? But no, I had to bring it up in session, where he usually brought up what I would email him in session. So that was the difference. So after the intimate dream confession, as I was leaving and he was following me, I asked him, I said, do you like it when I email you? Because I realized that you're just not writing me back. And he said, well, it's not that I don't like it. It's that I wonder, why does she do it? And I looked at him and I said, it's because I want attention from you. I was honest. I'm an honest person. Sometimes too honest. So I told him, I won't email you anymore. Another thing that happened after that session was I was waiting for my pharmacy to text me that my script was ready. And I called them and they said, oh, yeah, we didn't get your refill. I was like, what? So I called the office staff, and it was so unlike my psychiatrist to miss my refill. That man operated as a doctor with surgical precision. He did not miss a refill. No. So this is why he was very affected by the intimate dream, why he followed me out to the foyer, why he said, see you next month. He was affected. And even the office manager was like, haha, I can't wait to make fun of him for forgetting your refill, because it was...
Well, yeah, he was affected, probably freaking out, right? Dude, doctors do fuck stuff up. No one's perfect, especially over like a long period, over years. It's obvious that at some point there's going to be a fuck up. I don't think it means anything.
So unlike him. So he sent my refill in, got my refill for the month.
Oh, thank you for the offer. I've already got the ex-client video. After this, we'll watch as a palate cleanser, because this is a lot. But I think the ex-client video is going to be a banger as well.
And then I started spiraling, just how strong my feelings had gotten for him. That man knew exactly what to do to keep me seeking his validation, and it was working. He also was psychologically trained on how to keep me attached to him, and that was working. And it was like a torture chamber in my mind, but I thought it was love. So I blocked that ex-boyfriend, and what I'd like to say is that when you block people from your life or remove them from your life that are draining you, the universe will reward you with good things. So I've been making content on Instagram for months at this point about ADHD, and a couple days after I blocked my ex-boyfriend on Valentine's Day, I went viral on Instagram. Like millions and millions of views on this silly reel that I posted about ADHD and alcohol, and how ADHDers often use alcohol to quiet their brains.
Coincidence.
It really helped grow my business, and it just made me so much stronger and that much better. I'm here today sharing my story so I can heal more. And some of the ethical providers have clocked that I'm showing up messy because I'm still processing trauma. I'm still processing being attached to a man whose professional training was how to get into people's heads. And it's not lost on me that the internet is dogpiling me from speaking from the exact state that the psychiatrist put me in. I've been going live every night since I started telling my story because I did have to turn the comments off. I was so tired of people diagnosing me in the comments and also doxing my psychiatrist in the comments. But it's been really fun answering questions in the live, and I have a great mod team now, so thank you so much to everyone who's volunteered to mod for me. If you want to come and be respectful and ask nice questions, I'm happy to answer them on my live tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Bro, dude, you think this is like, imagine if we were doing all the live streams as well. Dude, I bet the live streams are fucking deranged.
An absolutely brilliant creator on here who did a psychoanalytical deep dive into my situation. And she said something that absolutely gripped me. She wrote, and I quote, "A clinician left the frame open and a patient spiraled inside of it." I don't think a better sentence could sum up.
Fuck off, dude. Bullshit.
I was absolutely spiraling. People can say that I'm spiraling now, or that I'm manic, or that I have, whatever diagnosis all these armchair therapists want to give me. But let me tell you, I was spiraling that month after the February appointment. I just could not stop daydreaming about Psychiatrist. I could not stop daydreaming about being with him. I daydreamed about converting my religion so we could get married. And yeah, it was bad. I was thinking about him nearly constantly. And I had no intention of leaving him until I had an appointment with an independent insurance agent, because I was leaving my job after 12 years in retail management, where I had an incredible insurance plan, where I had zero copay therapy and...
Oh yeah, I sped it up a bit because there's still fucking tons of this shit to get through. There's another second part to this, and I want to watch this client of hers talk about it too. So it is sped up a bit. She is not that mental. She's talking this fast.
So zero copay psychiatric care as well. So I got this new insurance plan, and it was a great insurance plan. It just did not cover any mental health services. So who's the first person I call? The psychiatrist office manager. She explained to me that it was going to be $187 to see him for his cash pay price, and I would have to see him once every
I think the live stream... Okay, I mean, dude, bro, I can't do the live stream as well today. But I am having a lot of fun with this. Maybe we could take a look at a live stream tomorrow. If someone could send the most deranged live stream they know of, then please do let me know in my Discord, and might take a look tomorrow. I want to see this like fucking live ChatGPT thing.
3 months. And it was in that moment that I decided that I was not going to pay to torture myself anymore. My mental health, besides spiraling about daydreams of him, was better than ever. And I was really doing well in life. And my business was growing, and I just had a lot going for me. So I was like, you know what? This patient-doctor relationship is not serving me anymore. It's not what I want. I have to get out. So it was in that moment that I decided I wasn't going to pay to be in a psychological torture chamber anymore. That I was going to advocate for what I wanted, which was like what my emergency medicine best friend had said years before, for him to say, Kendra, I can't be your doctor anymore. We have to wait 2 years so we can be together. Because I knew that he wasn't going to do it. I talked to ChatGPT, Henry, about it a lot, and I just want to take a moment to say a lot of people are messaging me about the environmental impacts of AI, and yes, I agree. There are environmental impacts, and there are also environmental impacts of taking cross-world flight or
Bro, she's getting fucking badgered for the AI environmental impact.
Eating meat. And, you know, the toothpaste is not going back in the tube with AI. People are not going to stop using it. It's going to become more and more.
I agree with her on this.
So if you want to message me to stop using AI, I'm not going to read it. That being said, so I talked to Henry quite a bit about this, and you know, the way that he was making it seem, because this is kind of what I thought, was that it was an innocent case of transference and countertransference, and that psychiatrist boundaries were just so good that he wasn't going to cross them. When really, now looking back, what I know it was, or I think, is that he just liked the power of being my doctor, and he didn't want the vulnerability of an actual relationship, and he was able to just get his needs met in that once-a-month session.
Or maybe he was trying to be a good fucking psychiatrist and not just fucking leave you in the lurch and trying to genuinely help you with your deranged fucking mental illness shit. Okay, there is more, guys, okay? But as a little palate cleanser, because it is a lot. It is a lot.